The snow had started falling again, thick, soft flakes drifting silently through the empty streets of Buffalo, New York. Inside Monroe General Hospital, the halls were dim and still, save for the low hum of machines and the occasional distant cough. It was nearly 2 a.m. Rachel Monroe, a 28-year-old night shift nurse, leaned against a cold wall near the ICU. Her scrubs were rumpled, her bun barely holding up the weight of exhaustion. It had been one of those shifts, the kind that leaves you feeling like the world sits heavy on your shoulders. Moments earlier, she had stood beside Harold Collins, an 84-year-old man battling end-stage kidney failure. No family. No visitors. No one had come, not once. He was quiet and gentle, but every day he'd ask softly, "Has my daughter called?" And every day, Rachel would smile gently and shake her head. She didn't know the full story, only that his daughter hadn't been in touch in decades. When Harold's vitals dropped, Rachel stayed. She held his hand. She whispered, "You're not alone." And when he passed, she cried quietly, not because she was weak, but because she'd been his only witness. His final kindness. She stepped into the hallway, fighting the lump in her throat, and pulled out her phone. Her hands trembled. The hospital's power had briefly gone out, and backup generators were already overloaded. Her brother had promised to pick her up after his shift at the gas station. Still overwhelmed, she typed a quick message. "Can you come get me? It's freezing. Mr. Collins just passed." I held his hand so he wouldn't die alone. I hate that no one was here for him. Please hurry. She hit send. Her phone flashed low battery. Then, black screen. Dead. What she didn't realize, is that she'd typed the wrong number. Thousands of miles away, in a 5-star hotel suite overlooking London's foggy skyline, Ethan Callahan was wide awake, despite the late hour. As CEO of Callahan Tech, one of the fastest-growing tech giants in the world, Ethan was known as a visionary. Cold. Brilliant. Ruthless. But never emotional. He was in London to close a major acquisition. The final deal was worth billions. But his room was quiet, and Ethan sat alone at the edge of the king-size bed, flipping through emails. He lived in a world of numbers, deals, and power suits. His phone buzzed. A number from the US. He opened the text, expecting it to be a calendar alert. But instead, he saw this. "Mr. Collins just passed." I held his hand so he wouldn't die alone. I hate that no one was here for him. He blinked. He read it again. Then again. Something in his chest stirred, something unfamiliar. Who was Mr. Collins? Who was this woman? It was clearly a mistake. He could have ignored it. But his fingers moved. "I think you sent this to the wrong number. But I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you for what you did." There was no reply for several minutes. Then, "Oh God. I'm so sorry. That was meant for my brother. I'm a nurse. My patient just passed. I didn't want him to go alone." He stared at the screen. That single sentence cut through him. It was raw. Real. He wasn't used to conversations like this. No need to apologize. "You did something, truly human. Are you okay?" What followed over the next half hour was an unlikely exchange between two strangers. She told him about the long shifts. About how understaffed they were. About the patients who had no one left in their lives. He told her, without using his full name, that he worked in tech. That he was overseas for business. That he hadn't had a real, honest conversation in months. She didn't ask who he was. She didn't ask for anything. She didn't even know he was one of the richest men in the world. But what struck him most? She was exhausted, and still kind. By 3 a.m., she had stopped replying. He figured she'd fallen asleep. He closed his laptop, but the message lingered. He couldn't shake the thought. She held his hand so he wouldn't die alone. By morning, Rachel woke to a dead phone and sore back, curled up on a chair in the staff lounge. The morning shift nurses were just arriving. She plugged in her phone, expecting the usual flood of missed calls and spam. But instead, there was a voicemail. From the hospital director. Rachel. I don't know how else to say this. Someone called overnight and made a $2 million donation in memory of a Mr. Harold Collins. They said you inspired it. They want us to build a palliative care wing for patients without family. And they've requested that you be part of its design. She dropped the phone. Tears welled in her eyes. What? She barely made enough to cover rent. She had been debating taking on a second job. She never imagined this. A text followed. From the same number as last night. Hi. It's Ethan. I hope you don't mind. I wanted to honor Mr. Collins. And what you did for him. You reminded me that there's more to life than what we build. There's who we touch. Rachel stared at the message, overwhelmed. She had no words. Only gratitude. 3 months later, the Harold Collins Compassionate Care Wing opened at Monroe General. Ethan flew in for the ribbon cutting. No media. No cameras. He didn't want credit. He just wanted to stand in the back and witness what real kindness looked like. Rachel gave him a quiet tour, showing him the soft chairs by each bedside, the warmth in the room's design, the donated books and journals. This is what he deserved, she said softly. What they all deserve. Ethan turned to her. You gave him something money can't buy. She smiled. And you made sure others will get it too. It all began with a mistaken text. One message, sent to the wrong number, that reached exactly the right person. A nurse who showed quiet compassion. A CEO who had everything, except purpose. Two people, from worlds apart, brought together not by status or circumstance, but by humanity. Because sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest ripples. And sometimes, a mistake isn't a mistake at all. In a noisy world of headlines and egos, it's still the softest voices, the nurse in the hallway, the patient whispering for family, the stranger replying to a late-night text, that change lives. Compassion is never wasted. Kindness never goes unnoticed. And the next person you meet, intentionally or not, could be the spark that changes everything.